Good morning, or afternoon, my our YouTube audience. And first of all, I'd like to express complete appreciation, whoever may be listening to this, and all comments and questions are welcome. And also, any controversies or any objections, that's also welcome as well. We'll try to resolve that in the most mature manner. And I believe in the last videos we've been stressing on what we call the science of fulfillment, the art of fulfillment, the science of satisfaction. And we have been attributed to that, to establishing a missionary goal. And it's important because, you know, as things hit the fan, I don't want to use any curse words, but as things hit the fan, okay, we can understand that sometimes we may be in a state of perplexities. Whether it be lack of financial resources, or maybe something's happened within our life, relationship-wise, or whatever the case may be. Okay, we may be in a state of perplexity because somehow or other the externals may not exactly fit with what we want things to be, and vice versa. It could happen that way. You know, there's the old saying that no matter how much we do away with, or how much we gain, you know, because there's a section of people who feel that success is part of saying, I just want to do away with things, you know, just don't bother me. I just you don't want to do away with things. It's like a yoga type of, you know, thing, yoga type of trend, yoga type of thing, where people just feel like, okay, these material things bother me, so I just want to do away with them. And then there's other type of people that they just feel like they just want to try to, you know, cram so much things in their life, whether it be more money, more cars, more of this, more of that, etc. So I believe in the last videos we were talking about the science of fulfillment, the art of satisfaction. Now, is this an indirect reason to become complacent? I don't think so. It's just ever since we entered the information age, which was basically in the turn of the century of the 90s, an information age, of course, you know, everybody knows what information age is nobody can hide the truth these days. I mean, you have to really be a super outstanding salesman or outstanding closer to hide the truth of what's going on in your life. But besides that, you know, anything can come across. You know, you go on your iPhone or your Android, and then anything can come across anybody. It's just, everybody knows it just like that. So basically what is emphasized is transparency these days. People are looking for transparency. They don't want any fakes. They don't want anybody and nobody wants any hypocrites. Nobody wants to deal with any kind of hypocrites. So what we're really looking for is to define what kind of goals that we really have, and not so much goals of what we want to get rid of or what we want to gain, but what kind of humanitarian goals we want to have, what kind of missionary goals that we want to acquire, that we can really dedicate our life for. And there's a book called Bhagavad Gita. I'm hoping everybody understands it. And the most famous version of that book is called Bhagavad Gita as It Is. We recommend 100% to get that book. It's by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And now in this book, it talks about experiencing the happiness from within through transcendental senses. Transcendental meaning anything above the mundane material stratosphere. Excuse my not talking like that. Sometimes we may have experience writing, but anything above the mundane stratosphere. Okay, so it basically talks about, in order to experience that happiness within, one has to be connected to a higher power, to God's calling, to try to see what God wants from us while we're on this planet, while we're here in this world. What is the reason that God put us here for? And not so much to be an anxiety, okay, not so much to be an anxiety of how to get rid of things or how to gain things, but to sort of be an anxiety of how we can become closer to His calling, come closer to His mission. And once we connect with that, it's sort of like a complete fresh of air, you can breathe the air, where you can actually feel relieved. You know, relieved of all the garbage and nonsense that whatever's putting across in our life that may be hampering our peace of mind. So once we come closer to our mission, calling of God, we try to dedicate ourselves in outstanding proportions to that, to the best of our capacity, then we enter a different life. Then we enter a different life of what Dr. Stephen Covey talks about in his excellent book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Missionary goals. How can we establish a missionary goal, a missionary purpose in life, where we feel fulfilled and satisfaction? We're doing something good in the world. We're contributing, despite whatever we gain or lose. We're sacrificing ourselves for the betterment of humanity, for the betterment of other people, to make other lives better. And that kind of satisfaction, that kind of fulfillment cannot be, nothing can equal to that. It's just like we've always put the example is, let's say for instance, or for example, you go on a trip to some country or whatever, and somebody kidnaps our child, a 5-year-old child. Horrific thing. Excuse me for using an example, but I'm just trying to make a point here. That some horrific thing, somebody kidnaps, and you don't know where your child is. You don't know whether your child is alive or dead. And then after a while, after 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, you reunite with that child, and you realize that your child is completely healthy. They put to jail the captors of whoever kidnapped your child. They put him in jail. They gave him a life sentence, death sentence, or whatever. And the main thing is that you reunited with your child. Now, what kind of material happiness can equal to that? If I were to say, okay, I'll give you 100, 200, or enough money to make you financially free for the next 10 lifetimes. But you just have to give up your child, and you won't, for the rest of your life, and you won't know whether your child is alive or dead. I mean, what warm-hearted person would ever do that? I mean, we have to be really cold and really very lowly class person to actually accept that person. I mean, I wouldn't want that person in my life, and it's very, very it's a state of misery beyond what we can ever know. So no person would want to do that. And when we are reunited with our child after so many years, that happiness, that fulfillment, that complete fulfillment, that kind of satisfaction, nothing can compare to that. And why are we saying this? Because we want to hit on the fact, we want to try to break through on this point that nothing can compare with the inner satisfaction, inner fulfillment, when we try to do good for others. I mean, imagine we can help other people reunite with their lost loved ones after a while, after a tragic situation. I mean, right now, look what's happening to the country where certain people were separated from the child. It's traumatic. It's completely traumatic. It has no name for it. This is not United States of America. Of course, they may offer different arguments, but all in all, emotionally, it's not accepted. Emotionally, it's not accepted by anyone. I don't care what country we're from. Emotionally, we cannot accept that it is acceptable to separate families from their children. Nobody will want to do it. And if anybody wants to offer different arguments on whichever side, okay, fine. Then you go through the experience in having your child separated from you and see how it feels with you. Nobody would want that. Doesn't matter if we're Democrat, Republican, nobody would want that. So, before we try to establish some kind of goal in our life, we have to understand what is really going to be right by God. What is really going to make God happy. And we have that self-evident answer. No justification can come about separating people from their families. No justification about it. So what it is it's a time of reflection, a time of understanding what God wants from us, what our calling is, and try to connect with that. Try to connect with that missionary goal. That's what we're after, is to try to have a missionary goal. And once we establish a missionary goal, then we enter a different life. First there's a life of achievement, and then there's a life of fulfillment. Life of art of fulfillment is a much more, we can conclude, a much more deeper science, where we're into the life of fulfillment. We don't care what we get or what we don't get. We're fulfilled because we know we're doing right by our mission. We're doing right by our calling. We're doing right by what God wants us to do. What He is pleased with us to do. Okay? So once we enter that, okay? I mean, hey, we can have all the bills paid, great. But if we're not doing something right for people, if we're participating in things that are not right, I mean, we can bet ourselves that we're going to live a life of misery and regret, no matter how many things we have. And vice versa. Some people think, okay, I just want to do away with things, you know, and they don't have no mission in life. So both of those are equally not good, not important. What we want to do is complement, do our mission in life, and be rest assured that we will be taken care of. And the main goal is what we're looking for is fulfillment and satisfaction. Not so much how much we get away or what we think we need to be satisfied. No, what we feel that we're doing right by God, right by our calling. And more or less that's what Stephen Covey is talking about in his second chapter, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Establish a certain missionary life. Develop ideal character. Develop ideal character and go for that. Otherwise, it's just going to be living a hellish misery. Anyways, I just wanted to put this out there. There's more things to talk about. If anybody has any comments or questions, you can put them there below, or any controversies. But this is something that, we don't want to get away from. How can we establish a true missionary goal? Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. And as we say, Hare Krishna.